Hi guys, welcome back to the channel, and if you are new here, welcome to the channel. Today is going to be a long, like 4-year awaited video answering questions on my most viral video, which is my inducing labor with castor oil video, Midwife's Brew. If you have not already seen that, I'm gonna link it right here. But today I'm going to be going through and addressing some of the top comments and questions that I received on that video, and there was a lot. So let's just dive right in. The first question that I wanted to answer, and I realize now that this won't be relevant to the women that were asking these questions. Well, some of them might still be pregnant because this video still gets a lot of traction, but really I'm hoping that this video will help some women who are currently stumbling across this or are pregnant. So the first question that I'm going to address is, does it work if I just do castor oil instead of the other stuff mixed in it? This was regarding the Midwife's Brew. Again, if you are not familiar with this video or you have not seen it, feel free to watch it. But basically, a little back info on it. I did a video when I was 37.5 weeks pregnant with my daughter Tatum. I was having thyroid issues at the time, and so made the decision on my own to self-induce at home. This was with Midwife's Brew. I also did a workout and I filmed it all and uploaded it, and it worked for me. I went into labor the next morning, my water broke, so it was a success for me, didn't have any complications, and I did a lot of research before deciding to do it. And so I'm hoping that this information can help some of you guys. But to answer the question, with the Midwife's Brew, it is super important based on the research that I did. The reason for the different ingredients is to help coat your stomach. So the almond butter, for example, that is in the ingredients, is to kind of line the intestinal tract and line your stomach a little bit, so that the castor oil doesn't have so much of a laxative effect and more so has just the effect on creating contractions within your body. And so I would say don't do just the castor oil. You can definitely do your own research on this, and there's a lot of really great information. Specifically, some of the things that I have found regarding the subject were that the UK actually has that as a top preferred method over Pitocin or medicinal inductions. And so, having experienced a medical Pitocin induction with my son, I will say out of that and self-inducing at home, I definitely preferred the Midwife's Brew and inducing at home, and I think that it is so much more natural, healthy, and all of that good stuff. But definitely I would do the entire list of ingredients. Which leads me to my next question, which is, somebody asked, can I provide a list of the ingredients and products used for the Midwife's Brew? Technical recipe that you are supposed to do is 10 ounces of apricot juice. So for me, whenever I was looking, I could not find the apricot juice, and so I substituted it for the Jumex mango nectar. I think I found it at Walmart, and I believe this was listed as a substitution for the apricot juice. But if you can find apricot juice, that is the top recommended ingredient. This is the German Midwife's cocktail. Again, most other countries utilize this method over Pitocin. So the full recipe for the Midwife's Brew is 10 ounces of apricot juice. Like I mentioned, I did the mango nectar. The 8 ounces of pure lemon verbena tea, 2 tablespoons of castor oil, 2 tablespoons of almond butter, and then you're just gonna mix that all together. I blended it up. I'm gonna be so honest, it does not taste good. It's not the worst thing I've ever tasted either, but I definitely did not want to touch almond butter ever again after I drink it. Another person asked what time did I drink the brew. the night before. I will say it was pretty late by the time I started drinking it, so probably 8 or 9 p.m. is when I actually started drinking it and started my workouts, and I went into labor, like my water broke about 7 a.m. the next morning. So it was within 12 hours that I went into labor from the time I drank it till the time my water broke. And also a lot of the people who tried this out in my comments reported the same thing, that they also went into labor a few hours after trying it or shortly after trying it. Okay, another person asked, does it need to be drank on an empty stomach? So yes, technically yes. The recommendation was to do it on an empty stomach, and so I waited until I was hungry, and that's why I ended up doing it at 8 or 9. I will say though, this is gonna probably sound so silly, but after having my son, I had kind of created a tradition of having IHOP before going into labor, and knowing that there was a chance that I was going to go into labor, even though I was not fully in belief that it was going to work for me, I decided about 11 p.m. that night to eat IHOP. I was pregnant, so don't judge me. It was like 11 or 12 to be honest. So I had IHOP and then went to bed. I was extremely full, feeling like way more than normal, because I was definitely feeling the fullness from the castor oil and everything, but I did end up eating. So I don't think you need to like do it on an empty stomach and then not eat. I would say do it on an empty stomach, maybe give it an hour, and then you can eat. That's what I did. You don't have to do that, but that's what I would probably recommend. Someone else mentioned, hardest thing I've ever had to do is drink this, and one of the responses is, I drank mine in a minute. So I will say it definitely, and then the next person said, I had mine today and I drank it in maybe 15 minutes. It wasn't that bad. So I think it's just really, you know, if you're pretty good at like taking stuff back, you'll be totally fine. If you're pretty sensitive to flavors and you feel like you have a pretty high gag reflex, it's very possible that you might struggle a little bit more. Someone else commented, and I'll just throw this out there. Someone else said you're actually meant to finish the drink within 20 minutes. In my response, because it's been a while since I did this, as a, you know, I responded and I said I actually chugged it and finished it within 10 minutes. So I did it pretty quickly. I would say the quicker you can drink it, the more effective it's gonna be. Somebody asked how many ounces was my cup. The cup, I just used a like a Ninja Bullet blender, so I'm not sure exactly how big that cup was. Probably like 20 to 30 ounces, I'm not sure, but it worked just fine. Somebody else asked, do you have to be dilating to try this? I think that it definitely helps, which is what I told them, but it can happen for dilation, and progression can happen at a different rate for different women. The biggest thing that I came across when I was doing my research and with this topic is that if your body is not ready to go into labor, there is nothing that you can do that is going to prompt it, with the exception of a medical induction. There's nothing that you can do that's going to prompt your body to go into labor if it is not ready. If your body is not ready, if your baby is not ready to come, your body is not going to go into labor. And so I would just say, if you try it and it doesn't work for you, you can pretty much chalk that up to your body just not being fully ready. And I would at that point just be patient and try to not rush it, as hard as that is. There's reasons why for me it was really necessary. I will say everyone has a different situation going on, but in terms of it working or not, it really comes back to what your body is ready for. Somebody else asked, where did I get the medicine ball and what size? I don't remember there being sizes necessarily, but I picked it up at Walmart. It's just a regular, it's in the active section, but just like the gray medicine ball. I think that the medicine balls are sold based on weight capacity as well, so I would just look into that. Make sure that you're super safe just with bouncing on a ball and being pregnant that far along. Okay, this question is super important. I want to make sure that I cover this, but somebody asked about what if you're planning on having a C-section, or if you've had C-sections previously. I would say don't do it if you are going to have a C-section or know that you are prone to having C-sections, because you don't want to rush the labor process and then not have the appropriate time to get into a C-section. I have not experienced having a C-section, so I don't even want to speak for it based on my experience, but I just think that it probably would be on the safer side of things to not do this if you are going to have a C-section. Another person asked, I don't have a blender, do you think I could still kind of ingest everything and it still work? I would say I don't think that that would be as effective. Walmart does have like $19 blenders, so I would say if you're gonna go to the lengths of trying this, I would just try it correctly from the get-go. If you don't have a blender, I don't think I would try the ingredients simultaneously, like on their own. I wouldn't do that. Plus it'd be pretty disappointing to do that and then it not work. So the last question that I'm going to answer about this video is and it's really less of a question and more of an unsolicited comment, but somebody said, no offense, but why? So for me, like I said, I have had a medical induction and now the natural induction, and I will say 1,000,000% preferred the midwife's brew. I had a way easier delivery, way easier recovery. Everything about it was so much more natural and straightforward. So I had already planned on scheduling and I'm pretty sure at this point it was already scheduled when I was at that point with my daughter. I was already planning on having an induction either way. That's what I was deciding. Would I decide that in the future? I don't know. It's hard to say. It's been a long time since I've been pregnant, but probably, you know, doing it again, I think that the next time I'm going to wait as long as possible, just because there's definitely been some remorse for me of feeling like I rushed through the end of the pregnancy a little bit. But for me, there was a medical reason for me to induce at 37.5 weeks, and that was, like I mentioned earlier in the video, because I was having thyroid issues. I was going through thyroid storm, which is where my thyroid levels were completely undetectable, and I was responsible for regulating my daughter's thyroid when I was pregnant with her, and so there was a huge risk of stillbirth, and so that was not something that I felt comfortable just playing around with. I didn't feel like my OB was taking it serious enough, and then on the other hand, my endocrinologist was really urging me to get my OB to induce, and there was some conflicting information being given to me with that. So for me, it made sense. I don't think that it's something that you should do just because. I don't think you should really play around with things just because when it comes to pregnancy and labor and delivery, but everyone's situation is different. There is different reasons why I definitely think that it is appropriate and why it was appropriate for me. But definitely, if you feel unsure, make sure to consult with your doctor. They might not be on board with this just because most medical doctors are going to tell you to go the medical induction route, but be your own advocate. There is so much research online on the subject. Like I said, in Germany, just the UK in general, they're very pro midwives brew. So I do think in a lot of ways they are a little bit ahead of us in the medical world, in the kind of natural approach to things. So if your options are on the table of medical induction or midwives brew, I would definitely say the midwives brew. But if it's just that you're at the end of pregnancy and you're feeling a little bit over it, I would say from experience, maybe just try to wait it out. That way you're not left wondering if you should have waited or if something could have gone differently or anything like that. I will say, I think it's completely unrelated, but my daughter did get readmitted to the NICU post going home. She was admitted for jaundice, which could have essentially happened with any baby, but I do believe I remember being told that being born at 37 1.5 weeks gave her a little higher of a rate of the jaundice being an issue. So we had to go back to the hospital. She was admitted and in the hospital for 2 days. Everything is fine and good now. She's super healthy, no complications as far as like her development or anything like that. She's super advanced, so I don't worry about any of that. But that's why we decided on it. Again, I would definitely make the most educated decision for yourself based on your situation, but I just really wanted to address some of the questions that have been lingering and that some other people might be wondering. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to drop them below and I will answer them. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.